Peace, family. You are now listening to the Fitness Headspace podcast, brought to you by Deion, Avril from Evolve Fitness, where we get fit and we don't quit. And you guys are probably wondering what the peace is for, so let me explain this. Positive energy always creates elevation. Repeat, positive energy always creates elevation. And that's how we're doing it out here, 24/8, all right? Now, if everybody could go ahead and do me a favor, just go ahead and like, share, comment, subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Any ideas that you guys have, feel free to drop them down below. All right. Now, with that being said, as far as what's new, as you guys know, I'd mentioned that the website is being worked on. I got the first revision a couple of days ago. So I sent her a few updates in regards to what needs to be done. And then from there, we'll get things going, man. Like I said, I'm going to have recipes, articles, ebooks, all that fun stuff. More than likely some tutorials that are going to be linked to the YouTube page as well. All right. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into it. So our first topic of discussion, first segment is going to be, of course, fitness for all. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is understanding that too much too soon can be an issue. Okay. That's going to correlate with you don't want to go too heavy too fast. Now, when we're talking about exercise, right, family, I've always told everybody to gauge the situation based on your lifestyle, take your time, and start with even one day is better than none. But the ideal split would be, if you can, 3 days, split them between, like every other day, so you have enough time to recover for those muscle groups to get back in and make sure that you're able to perform the exercises properly with enough energy and enough force. So the one mistake that I see a lot of people do is they'll either try to jump off the band like with 5 days. And I'm like, well, you could do that. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that this is something that's sustainable. Okay. Now, sustainability has to start from a basic foundation, which is why I always suggest all of my clients, people that are potential clients that are looking to talk to me about getting into the gym and putting together a program and working out, to start with 3 days, just because of the fact of, again, I'd rather you be able to add as opposed to take away. So don't set yourself up for failure and commit to 5 days when you know that you have a busy schedule. We love the enthusiasm, we love the dedication, but the discipline is not going to be there because you will burn out eventually. So it's the same thing with your weights. So while you're lifting, usually I like to tell everybody, if we're doing a 12-week program, the first 2 weeks of the program is your training day situation, or training weeks. You want to give yourself about a week to get accustomed to everything. And then that second week, you have that opportunity to start increasing the weights. And again, there's a couple of different variables. You could slow things down. You could speed things up as far as shortening your rest time. You could do other things like adding in a rep, or you could add in a rep with a little bit of weight. So there's so many variables, and that's why I think it's really important to sit down with a coach or work with a coach that will guide you through it all. Because again, it's not always going to be a perfect cookie cutter plan, but to get an idea of what you need to do, then yeah, of course, that would be the best way to do it. So just remember, when we're increasing in weight, let's say we're doing legs, right? Let's say you start at 180. I would probably have my client go up, if not the next week, by 1 rep. We'll go up by 1 rep and a little bit of weight. So if we're doing 3 sets of 12, depending on the phase that we're in, we'll do, well, let's say we're doing 3 sets of 8. The next week we'll go up to 3 sets of 9, and then we'll add in maybe 20 pounds. And the reason why it's 20 pounds and nothing heavier is because I look at it, 10 pounds on each leg. It's decent. It's a good variation as far as increasing the weight, and something that you can slowly but surely progress on, as opposed to 40 pounds, 50 pounds, and then gassing out and burning out way too early. You got to remember, you got 12 weeks. You will have a deload week as well, where you're cutting down the amount of weight, but you could keep the volume the same itself. So there's, and again, it just depends on the situation. You could flip that around too, but it's just something to be mindful of. Now, our second topic within this segment is what you can do if you're short on time is up the intensity. All right. And all I mean by that is, I had mentioned it. This is a segue from the last topic. If you're short on time, let's say that, for example, I work with someone, we usually take about roughly 45 minutes to an hour. So all that means in that case is we should probably shorten the actual amount of rest time. So if you have the opportunity, shorten the amount of reps time, and you're going to notice that the intensity is it's going to bump up because you're not resting as long. So your body doesn't have time to acclimate to your heart rate going back down, or reducing the fatigue of the muscle where it's like still tight and still burning. So upping that intensity, if you're short on time, will definitely make a difference. And it might make you feel like you're more efficient and effective in the gym, because like, dang, I just got this done in 30 minutes as opposed to 45 or an hour. And it just really depends, because for me, like if I'm working with one of my clients and it's a busy gym, I'll start supersetting things. So that's usually the way that we'll get things done as well too, just in case. Now, the third topic is going to be, do not neglect mobility work. Okay. So it could be anything like yoga, Pilates, but just make time for some type of short stretching sessions every day. Okay. So a lot of people, including myself, so I'm practicing a little bit more as far as practicing what I preach, but people don't understand the importance of how vital it is for maintaining your long-term health, right? So if you don't have mobility and flexibility, it's going to be a lot harder to, perform certain exercises or certain movements, because you will feel like you're limited or restricted. So just make sure that you incorporate that so you can avoid any future injuries, right? If you have any now, we want to reduce that, but also any future injuries that might come up and will come into play. You can reduce that by incorporating more mobility work. So just make sure that, for example, one of the things that I like to do is make sure that I'm mindful of my posture. So a lot of people, including myself, we tend to roll our shoulders or drop our head down onto our phones. So I try to be very conscious of when that's happening to make those adjustments as quick as possible. And I actually have one of the doctors at the chiropractic office, she recommended something called a wobble cushion. So it's like $18 on Amazon. And it looks like this weird little, I don't even know how to explain it. It just looks like it looks like a cushion, but it's made out of one of those like stability balls, like out of plastic. And it has like these small little teeth on the other side. It kind of looks like this weird, like a brush, like plastic brush that women will brush their hair with on one side. And then it's kind of like flat and shiny on the other side. But if you guys look it up, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But that does help with engaging your core, one, but also incorporating better posture. So when you're sitting for long periods of time at work, because you're putting a lot of pressure on your lower back and on your hips, we tend to not stretch those out or move around as frequently as we should. I would highly suggest incorporating those on a day-to-day basis, and even possibly in the car, depending on how comfortable you are, and making sure that it doesn't cause any discomfort or potential of, having any issues in the car while you're driving. Now, our last topic for this segment is going to be understand the basics of building muscle, right? So a lot of people tend to underestimate just the basics. The foundation is what really gets you there. So if you guys talk to any coach, there's going to be certain basics, okay? So the first thing that we always incorporate or mention, not even incorporate, but the first thing that we mention is, or ask any client or future client is, how is your diet, right? And when I say diet, I mean more like nutrition plan. Like, how are you actually eating? How are you maneuvering on a day-to-day basis as far as consuming food? Because a lot of people will say, yeah, I eat enough, or I eat 3 meals. But just because you eat 3 meals doesn't mean that you're eating the amount that you need to reach your goal, whether it's to lose body fat and lose weight, to add on a little bit more weight, and also add on muscle as well too. So that is probably the one thing that I think a lot of people underestimate. And like I always say, I'm going to keep saying, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but download MyFitnessPal. If you have a coach, you can add them in so they can kind of keep an eye on what you're doing as far as your eating and making sure that you're hitting your caloric goals. So that's just one thing that you want to be mindful of. The other basic thing that I like to always incorporate too, and I've been doing that more recently, just because coming from a bodybuilding background, we're so big into isolations and single arm movements, double this, double, compound movements. I've heard this before, and I've already known, and although that I've started adding it in about 4 to 6 months ago. 4 to 6 months ago, I've noticed a huge difference within a lot of my clients that I've incorporated it with. So things like squats, deadlifts, rows, or sometimes we'll do variations. So like, for example, if they're doing dumbbells, squat and presses, You get what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different movements that we tend to underestimate and think that, oh, that's just going to make me big and bulky, when in reality, that's not necessarily the situation. So never underestimate the importance of your rest as well, too, because a lot of people don't understand that recovery tends to grow and repair during your rest periods, and making sure that you're giving yourself adequate amounts of sleep, enough food, like carbs, protein, things of that nature. Of course, your fats play a big role into your hormonal balance as well, too. These are all things that you need to make sure that you have in check. And then when it comes to your weight training, again, 3 to 4 times a week minimum. And that's why even the programs that I'll be providing are only going to be about 3 to 4 days and 5 max for some people. And it's just to get an ideal of rolling into your workout, and then you can always edit and make adjustments as need as be based on what you do have already on the program. All right, guys. So for our second segment, it's going to be fitness myths. All right. Fitness myth number 1. Lean muscle is different from a bulk. Okay. And you've probably heard of this. People will say that they don't want to get bulky. They just want to get lean muscle. So this is just a term that's been, brought up, years ago. And it's more of like a marketing thing where somebody will sell you something and say, yeah, get lean muscle. Like all muscle that you build is technically lean. The only difference is the relationship of adipose tissue or body fat percentage to the lean muscle mass that you have. So that's going to be the main difference of, your lean muscle, quote unquote. Now, just being very mindful of that relationship and how that dictates what you see and how much of it you gain. Just remember, you still have to be in a caloric surplus if you're trying to gain that muscle. In some certain circumstances, you can build muscle while in a caloric deficit, but it's going to be a little bit more beneficial if you're in a caloric surplus, of course. But again, the whole lean muscle and bulk thing, it's a fine line. Like if you're talking on our ends, bulk means that, of course, you're in a high caloric surplus, which means that you're going to have more body fat on you, which is what I would consider like, a dirty bulk in that sense. But for somebody that's eating properly, you're going to build lean muscle mass. All you really have to worry about is reducing your body fat ratio or your body fat percentage so that you have that opportunity to see the benefits of the lean muscle that you have on. Now, pardon me, guys, if you guys hear some rumbling in the background, it's the thunder, man. We're not going to stop, though. We're going to keep it going. So the second fitness myth is lifting does not help weight loss. Okay. Now, of course, there's going to be a couple of different things that you want to be mindful of. Again, nutrition is always going to be the most important thing, but it would be a flat out bold lie to tell you that you're not going to burn some type of calories. So when it comes to losing weight, many people they're going to hit straight to the treadmill, elliptical, Stairmaster. And I was just talking to somebody as well, too, online, because a lot of people tend to do it reverse. So a lot of people will hit the cardio deck first and then go work out. So the analogy that I always like to use for everybody is, okay, so you went and did cardio. Imagine you have a full tank of gas, right? And you had to go a long distance somewhere. 45 minutes, let's say your gas tank is going to drop significantly depending on where you are and what type of car you have, right? If you have bad gas mileage, of course, you're not going to get a lot of gas mileage on the car. You'll see where I'm going with this. So you get to that place and decide that, hey, I'm not going to put in gas. I'm just going to keep going. At some point, you're going to run out of gas. So the analogy is you'll start for 45 minutes of doing cardio. Then you have to go train for another 30, 45. You're not going to have that same energy output to perform the proper way and pick up those weights that we need to make sure that we are building that lean muscle. So with that being said, flip it. Go do 5 to 10 minutes of a warm up for your cardio. Then from there, go incorporate your weights. Some people do it backwards, not saying one way is better, but it's just, to me, that sounds more efficient as far as being able to get that done that way. So it's just something to think about. But again, you're still going to lose weight as far as burning calories within an hour or 30 minutes. But again, it's going to be a little bit different in regards to the intensity of the workout versus the intensity of the cardio, right? So you're more than likely going to burn a little bit more calories, but again, depends on what the situation is. So everything is going to be subjective to the person and what their output is, because anybody could tell you that hit is going to be a lot harder, but not necessarily if the person's not doing it with full intensity, as opposed to somebody that's really pushing that weight and putting that work in on the floor as far as lifting weights. Now, the third fitness myth is to get large, you must lift large. I am going to disagree with that 100%. And again, I say 100%, you're probably like, wait, there's some truth to it. There is some truth to it, but you don't have to off rip lift like a power lifter, and go straight into the crazy strength training to get larger, right? Everything is going to be over time. So what I like to do is give everybody the opportunity to stick with that hypertrophy range, which is, 3 to 5 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions in each set with a decent amount of rest time. Okay. But not only that, making sure that you have enough time to see that progression. So I usually like 12 weeks. It's not too long, it's not too short, and it gives enough time to acclimate to the program and make the adjustments accordingly. And as you're doing that, you want to increase your intensity a little bit, and also incorporate some type of progressive overload, which just means that you have to lift a little bit more over time. You can't keep lifting to 20, 30 pounds for the whole 12 weeks and expect to get, a decent amount of muscle. You're going to have to slowly up the weight, up the repetitions, maybe come down as far as the rest times. So there's going to be a few variables that you do want to add in. So just keep that in mind when you're lifting your weights. You don't necessarily have to lift large. Over time, progressively, again, you'll get to that point, but off the bat you won't. And it's not healthy as well too, because you will burn out and might potentially injure yourself. Now, the last myth is probably the most popular, and I've had this conversation with clients along with other people as well too. So the myth is the more that you sweat, the more fat you will burn. So for example, during intense cardio, you will feel like you have like pounds of water and sweat coming off of you. And this is with people who have the sweet sweat and all these other things, the garbage bags, everything. I'm talking to everybody out there. No disrespect to nobody, but I'm talking to all of y'all. But sadly, that's not the case, because what people don't understand is that, yeah, you indeed lose weight when you sweat, but you're more so losing the water weight. Okay, you're not targeting anything. So for you to put on something, you're not targeting your stomach because you're putting on a sweet sweat, or sweat sweet, whatever they call them things, and think that you're losing 4 pounds off of your stomach. That's not how your body works. I mean, yeah, you might isolate it and it's heated right there, but at the end of the day, all it's telling you is that your body sweating is a way of telling you that it's cooling down, and also that you need to replenish your water and stay hydrated. So that's really what it means at the end of the day. Sorry to break people's bubble. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the fitness industry is going to sell what it needs to sell. Some people will swear by it, but again, ultimately it's going to be your diet and your lifting program. I could take everybody off of these little accessories and give you the same thing that you would need without it, and I promise you'll get the same results, if not even better. So I kind of look at it as like a placebo effect, but hey, if it works for you, it works for you. So now we're going to go into our last segment, which is going to be diet and nutrition. Pardon me, guys. I'm trying to fix this microphone. You know what I'm saying? So for diet and nutrition, the first thing you want to understand is that you want to eat whole foods. All right. So keeping track of exactly what's going on and what's also going into your body is a great way to get healthy. Okay. Like I told you guys, this goes along with meal prep, which was in the last episode. If you haven't checked it out, go check out episode 10. But again, eating whole foods that don't come with like a crazy ingredient list will ensure that you're nourishing the body the way it needs to naturally, and also making sure that you have nutrient dense foods. Because what a lot of people don't understand is, yeah, we could do finger foods and pick and snack and whatnot, but you're not getting a full spectrum of the different nutrients and vitamins that you might be able to get, and minerals from these foods that you're finger fooding and picking at, right? So the less that you see on the packaging as far as the ingredient list, the better it is for you. Okay. Like I always tell people, if you can't pronounce it, why are you going to consume it? right? You have no clue what it's doing to your body. There's going to be some things, unfortunately, yeah, there's going to be, I have stuff all the time that I eat. Like some of the stuff is plant-based. I don't eat it all the time. But it does have a couple of different ingredients, but I usually like to make sure that it's big, bolded. I can pronounce it. I can look it up if I have any concerns as well too. But for the most part, half the stuff we be eating, if we're going to keep it real, y'all, half the stuff we be eating is killing us anyway. So making one small adjustment at a time is going to be the world of a difference moving forward. So the second topic is going to be, don't deprive yourself, right? So telling yourself that you'll never have your favorite food again is not only unrealistic, but it's also a way to set yourself up for failure. And I went through that same thing. Okay. So depriving yourself will only make you want that food more. So chemically at that point, you're just going to get to a point to where you need it. You're fiending for it. And until you have it, you won't give up on it. And I'd rather you give into it when you need to. So like, for example, everybody that knows me knows that I love Thai food. And maybe once a month or once every 6 weeks, basically, I'll go get some Thai food or something of that nature, like a John Smith sub, just something to just, you know, crunch out on, just because it makes me feel better. Right. And it helps me reset my mentality of, OK, I had it, I deserved it, and I'm going to keep working hard. So I have a healthy relationship with the food now at this point. But earlier, you know, finding out so much stuff within the last 2 weeks, I literally cut out meat for a minute and I lost way too much weight. Right. So some people were saying that I looked sick. And again, it's one of those things where, again, you guys will understand going through this journey, but some people don't understand what's going on people's day-to-day life. And we can't make judgments off of that. Right. So got a little personal there, but that's really what it is. And that's why I don't judge people either, because, you know, something might have drastically happened within the family this week. So who am I to judge you? Right. So again, don't deprive yourself. Just have a healthy relationship with the food and understand that if you do, as they would say, mess up, just understand that you got to just buckle back down, put 10 toes down to the floor and 10 fingers back on those weights and on those cardio machines and keep it moving. So the third topic is veg it out, man. Veg it out, y'all. Vegetables are loaded with fiber and nutrients that your body does crave. Okay. So the one thing that you want to be mindful of is that incorporating more vegetables will also help you lose weight. Okay. So for example, I love eating salads, and the way that it makes me feel as far as like it's satiating. It's not something where it's like, oh my God, I still need to eat, because you have to chew so much, and it's so much of it, especially like the salad itself. You know, you feel like, you know what, I could just eat that and I'll be okay right now. And it'll give you that. It's like a flip effect. So once you eat that and you have a decent amount of it, you don't really want to eat for a long periods of time. So not only will it help with healthy weight, all right, it's going to decrease your risk of developing any type of chronic diseases, or I don't want to say any specific things like heart disease and diabetes. Let me get specific. Do your own due diligence, of course, too. I am not a doctor, and always consult with them as well, too. So now our last topic is to snack smart. Okay. So snacking on unhealthy foods is where a lot of people get most of their weight gain. And a lot of people don't look at it as, oh, it was a lot, because again, these foods are calorically dense. So what happens is you can have a pack of Ritz crackers and off rip right there, that's almost 400 or 500 calories, right? Which equivalates to maybe 80 grams of protein. 80 grams of carbs and a decent amount of fat. So be very mindful of this. And this is why I tell people you should track everything you do for at least a week and see where you are, and then base that off of your weight. And then you can kind of make some adjustments for your nutrition plan as well, too. Okay. So instead of having those crazy sweets and things that have added sugar that aren't really good for you, what you want to incorporate is pre-portioned servings of nuts. So like, I love pistachios, so I have a scale, and I'll scale it out, throw them in a bag, and do it that way. Another thing that I like is in Florida, we have a place called Aldi, and Aldi has these brown rice chips. These are the sweet chili ones. Probably aren't the best, but hey, let me live my life. Let me treat myself. You know what I'm saying? And I'll buy some hummus from Sam's. So it'll be like the red pepper hummus or the original hummus with garlic or whatever the case is. And I'll kind of use that as a snack as well, too. So keep those on set, on deck whenever you need them, if you need to get those additional calories in, and also to kind of curve yourself from eating anything that might not be as healthy for you as well. Okay. Now, family, believe it or not, we are straight through it. We got straight through it in like 26 minutes, man, 25 minutes, something like that. But what I would like to do is tell you all thank you. I appreciate you guys being here over these 11 episodes. It means a lot to me. So like I said, at any given time, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them below. Comment, like, subscribe, share with a friend to a friend. If you guys have any questions, I'm usually on TikTok and IG the most, just because that's where I do a lot of my posts and that's where I'm the most active, interacting with different people. So with that being said, family, if there's anything I could ever do for you guys, like I said, reach out to me and I will catch up with you guys on episode 12. But just remember, we get fit and we don't quit. Stay smooth, stay healthy, stay grinding. And remember, peace. Positive energy always creates elevation. And I'm out.